Thank you guys so much for being here as a part of the Energy Healing Stories today. My name is Tammy Anderson Ward, and I am the conference producer for the Energy Healing Conference. And today I have a guest speaker on, Kiralei. And Kiralei, thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to have you go ahead and do a brief introduction. Share with us a little bit about who you are, where you grew up, and maybe even what modalities you practice and what led you to those.
Absolutely. My name is Kiralei, and I'm born and raised in Hawaii, Oahu specifically. I
Cool.
left in 1999. I've been everywhere between West Virginia and Utah ever
That's right.
since. So my energy healing modalities, there's a little bit of, family lineage from my grandmother, and I do Seraphim Blueprint energy work, Reiki, and Ho'oponopono could be considered energy work too.
Awesome. Absolutely. For sure. Okay, so I'd love to hear a little bit more about what led you to each one of those modalities and maybe even just like a brief explanation about what those are, because there might be somebody who's watching this and they don't even know what that is. Maybe they've never even heard of each one of those.
Okay. Well, Usui Reiki is a modality. It's attributed to Japan, but I think that's where it was popularized. And it's a concept that energy as light can be healing. So if you just start there, that's a good enough start. There's a lot of controversy in the different lineages, but the idea is that the modality was created so it could not be used for harm. And I find that really beautiful. And I actually came by that through my Seraphim Blueprint energy work teacher. She so many modalities. Cindy Waite,
Cool.
don't know if you know her, but Seraphim Blueprint Energy Work was downloaded by a woman named Ruth Rendley, and I think she currently lives in North Carolina.
Wow.
So over the last 20 years, she's been teaching it around the US and worldwide. So it's
Wow.
practiced in Thailand and Germany, the UK, I think Turkey too,
Wow.
maybe South Korea. Anyway, she's all over the place, and that is a modality that the sun. So here's more light. The sun has something for us, and so it was downloaded to bring back some techniques from old, and I can't tell you from when, but I can tell you that the real benefit to Seraphim Blueprint for a practitioner is a connection with the earth, with the planets, and with the sun. And that universal harmony is really beautiful. But in the early levels of learning this modality, you learn to do energy work for others' benefit as well. But the ultimate is really unity and harmony and grace. And it's fantastic.
That sounds really
Uh,
cool.
Ho'oponopono, I learned, I'm born and raised in Hawaii, so I was raised around these concepts, but it wasn't until I took a class on Ho'oponopono that I really learned the deeper meanings, the deeper uses of them.
Mhm.
And I'd love to share it with you live if that's okay. But
Yeah.
Ho'oponopono is the concept that when we let me just take something really old, so it's not something current. Think all the way back to 2020. There was a lot going on, but let's just bring to mind something that you remember about 2020, and it may have not been your favorite thing, but in yourself you feel, let's just say, vinegar in your bones, and you don't like that sensation. So Ho'oponopono teaches you to say four statements. And we teach these statements to children. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. But the key to using this um, cleaning modality, they call it cleaning, is you don't say them to the situation. You do not say them to another person. You say them to yourself. So you say to yourself, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And as you apply that to the sensation that you have in yourself, it cleans it. But it's like community service because it doesn't just clean it for you, it cleans it for everyone else who may be involved too.
That's powerful.
These are beautiful.
That is awesome. Well, okay, so my husband and I, we love to listen to meditation music. Sometimes
Mm,
while we're driving, sometimes while we're just sitting, like in the hot tub or holding hands, going for a walk, we'll play music. And oftentimes that is his preference. That's what he'll choose is those mantras being recited over and over. But
mm,
I don't know that he applies them to himself. I think that he
sure.
is using the intention to send them out just to the world
Mhm.
so I love that, and I know that he actually did that with a certain situation, and he said it transformed the way that he feels about it, the way that he feels about himself with it, like everything. And it can be really like life changing, actually, not to like
Yeah.
try and be dramatic, but it changed his life, you know what I mean? It was really powerful. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I love the way that you said cleaning too. That's so beautiful.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about where you're located now and what you're doing and how people can get in touch with you as well.
Mm. So I am in Ogden, Utah,
Hmm.
and I used to work for the Air Force in logistics and program management, and I stopped in September of 2023. And my intent is, oh boy, I'm gonna say it. Tammy, I love people.
Hmm.
I just uh the thing that I've been saying is I help to free leaders from burnout. I had, let's just say, I used organizational skills while I was with the Air Force. I love to deal with complexity, and the way I would put it is make my supervisor look good. When I look around at our world, I don't want to say out of the politics arena, but I just want to say that the community of people that follow you, we want a different way. I mean, we don't want to break everything down, but we definitely want to support everyone, support each other. And if our leaders are stressed out, that will happen more slowly. So, what am I doing? I want to contribute all of my skill any way I can to help leaders think clearly so they can be their best, so we can actually have the communities that we want that are innovative and collaborative and talking to each other. That's what I want.
That's beautiful. That sounds like unity and
Yes,
harmony and a peaceful
that
world.
word.
I mean,
Yeah.
right? It just keeps coming up. I love that. That's beautiful. Well, I adore you. Just I want to share that from the bottom of my heart. And I love what you're saying. Where did this all stem from? Like, did you do energy work as a child? Tell us a little bit about your
Mm.
evolution and where you first started learning about this.
So I grew up Christian, generic Christianity,
Hmm.
and I my grandmother had abilities.
Hmm.
Let's just say she was clairvoyant. So she and my grandfather would come back from Vegas, and there would be stories about how she helped people win their money back after they lost their shirt, or stories about a woman looking her in the eye and through her mind telepathically saying, "Are you reading my mind? Stop mind." And her just being like, "I don't know how to turn this off."
Yeah. Are you?
So you have a grandmother with those abilities, but you're growing up Christian. Like there was not, I didn't have the opportunity, the personal freedom to ask her about these things. So now that am, I formerly identify as Christian and practice energy work. Um, yeah, there's some of that capability in me that I don't know what to put into words, and other people don't always do those things, but I will say, just because it's popping into mind, because of that, even while I was in the church, I did not realize I was practicing energy work, but I was doing it without anyone's consent. But it's because I came about it naturally.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
consent
mean,
is,
some people consider, when you give a friend or one of your children, when you give somebody a hug, they consider that to be energy work because you
mm,
can literally soothe and you can support people and it makes a difference in their energy field. So I'm not saying that like everybody is doing energy healing per se, but like if you give a little child, they gets a boo-boo, they get a hurt on their owl, they have an owie or something.
yeah.
When you give them a kiss, like you make them feel better and they jump up and they run off and they feel good. Like there's lots of
Mm,
different forms of energy healing, that are out there. And some people are a little bit, like more empathic or more sensitive to certain things. And I mean, it's the same thing with like instruments. Like, for an example, and maybe you can relate with this a little bit, but like, I would try to play the piano and I sucked at it. I mean, I tried and I tried and I tried and I tried and I could not play the piano. However, my great grandmother, who was born in the year 1900, she would hear a song on the radio and without reading the music or anything, she'd sit down at the piano and she could just bust out that song. She knew every single key to hit perfectly. It was just like second nature to her, just like very, very natural.
mm,
And it's the same thing. If you look at it, that's the piano example, but then look at it as like, look at you. You, when you were little, you were just naturally doing it. Nobody was even saying, this is what this is called, but you could just naturally do it. Kind of like my grandma. She could just
yeah.
play the piano. Nobody said, this is how you read this note and this is where you push it on the keyboard, or on the whatever that's called. See, like I told you, I don't know the piano very well. But it's like it's kind of like that, you know what I mean? So I love how you recognize now, you're like, okay, I see that I could do this when I was younger. Does that make sense? Does that sound like it aligns
I
at all?
well, it makes me feel better because I didn't realize others did that too. I
Yeah.
just thought I was strange.
Well, you know what the word
Hmm.
weird means, right?
What does it mean?
Um, Linda Stone taught me that the word weird means whole and holy. And that's from in some ancient languages. And always thought that that was really interesting because my grandmother used to tell me if someone says you're weird, you just say thank you and accept it as a compliment because you don't want to be normal. If somebody came up to you and said, you're so normal, like that's not a compliment. You know what I mean? I'd be like, what? How dare you? You know? So I appreciate it when people recognize the uniqueness in me and the uniqueness in
Yeah.
you. You're a weirdo. You're this beautiful, whole and holy, beautiful, amazing Kiralei. So absolutely amazing.
Oh man. Thank
So
you.
absolutely. So what kind of things do you remember from your childhood and as you kind of evolved a little bit with energy healing? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Mm. Well, in my childhood, on one part, I love how you're talking about children and
Mama Vake.
just, what they feel and what they intuit, because it's the mere suggestion to me that I had energy between my hands. In high school, I don't know if they were, playing around, but uh Dragon Ball Z was really big in the 90s. And so, they were playing with energy between their hands. And we do the mealy mealy. I believe it's Samoan, but, putting that energy between your hands. But I could actually feel like a gravity, like either repelling or drawing together. And we would play, and I could actually turn people's hands. If they close their eyes and put their hand in front of them, I could turn it.
Mm.
And that was, I was just like, neat. And everybody was like, how are you doing that? I was like, what are you talking about? You just told me I had energy between my hands.
Yeah.
So that was my introduction. But of course, I was of the devil. So I had to stop doing it.
Somebody told you that. Right? Hear that? Well, I mean,
Oh
energy is
dear.
neutral. You know what I mean? It's kind of like water.
Yeah.
It's neutral. So, like, the water doesn't have any sort of intention to do, bad or good. It's just neutral. I mean, look at all the things you can do with water. You can water your plants. You can get your body hydrated. You can
Yeah.
do so many good things with it. But like, I know unfortunately that people have drowned from having, too much water, or there's been
Hmm.
floods. And I mean, you could go on and on. It's like water's neutral. Water didn't do anything. You know what I mean? It's
I
just,
love it.
it is.
Yeah, it's the nature of a tool versus effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we do get divided a lot. My brain keeps going back to unity. You hit one of my trigger words when you said unity,
Cool.
because we can behave and there be different effects, but they're just tools. And the tool itself does not have a quality, an adjective. It's just a tool. So let's free the tools.
I love it. That's awesome. So tell me what you're working on right now that you're really excited about.
Mm. So I did mention that I worked for the Air Force.
Yeah.
My and along the lines of my goal, because I love people, want to free leaders. Um, there is a modality, not a modality, a technique that I taught myself while I worked for the Air Force.
Mhm.
I call it the transformation box. It's a sidestep from NLP.
Okay.
And I don't usually tell people this, but your crowd will understand this.
Yeah.
NLP really relies on the person leading them to be very reliable and know where you're at and where you want to go. The transformation box is a sidestep because over the last 4 years, I've modified the technique so that people don't need to tell me what they're dealing with. Because they don't tell me what they're dealing with, I can't lead them anywhere. And this is important to me because I'm really big on empowerment. In the early days, I used this as a productivity tool for myself to
Mhm.
keep my attention, my focus on my work.
Mhm.
Because when you get distracted, sometimes it's, why did I say that in that last meeting? Or why did I steal that in fourth grade? And I don't
Mhm.
even know why that comes to mind, but it's already distracted you.
Mhm.
So it worked so consistently for myself that I taught it to my coworkers. And in the Air Force, they really value personal privacy. So
Mhm.
someone mentioned, all right, Kiralei, this was useful, this helped. However, now I'm wondering if you're using clever language for me in other areas of my life and I'm not aware of it. And I didn't like that. So it's a sidestep because now no one needs to know what they're working on. So slightly unique, but
That's
I
awesome.
would like to take that to our workplaces.
That's awesome. Have you been teaching that? Like, are you looking at getting some maybe leaders together, like a leadership training for something like that?
Yes. I've only taught one leader class, and the one thing that I noticed was that I fire hose them so much that I need to split it into 3 days. But yes, I would love to teach people to either lead themselves through the process, so self use, or teach people to lead others through it. It really ends up being more of a leadership class and recognizing empowerment versus instilling my desire on someone else.
Yeah,
But yeah, you learn to lead others through the technique.
that's beautiful.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
wasn't even planning on saying anything about that.
No, that's really cool. Well, I mean, that was the first thing that came to my mind, so I love that. And I mean, I used to do homeschool conferences, and half of the people at the conferences, so out of 2,500 people, at least over 1,000 of them would be youth. And they were all very, very much leadership minded. In fact, we had a
Oh,
huge youth committee, and they were the ones who helped put the event on. Like, I was so impressed with them always. And I've watched them evolve in their life, and they really excel. Like, almost anything they touch turns to gold. It's just beautiful to observe and watch them. And so I love leadership so much. And I've read so many leadership books and biographies of people that really impress me and inspire me. And I just think that your intentions with the transformation box specifically are just so pure and so good. And yeah, sometimes people could just use a little bit of, lift to help them. especially like in this day and age where there's so many distractions and so many things that can steal your attention, not just like the thing from the fourth grade or whatever, but
Hmm.
just like everything. Like we're constantly bombarded. So to be able to have a tool that can help you really like accomplish what you're really desiring, that's a big deal. That's huge. So I'm so excited. Can you share a little bit more about how people can get connected with you if they want to reach out to you, if they want to experience this, if they want to do a session with you? Where do they go? Where would you like them to be?
Yes. What a great question. So I'm on Facebook. Um, I I lean social Amish sometimes.
That's okay.
So Kiralei, and you'll see my name in the show notes or somewhere.
Hmm.
Kiralei 808. 808 is the area code for Hawaii. So
Awesome.
you can find me on YouTube or there. And if you'll message me, or you can find my website, and that's kiralei.xyz,
Awesome.
kiralei.xyz, and you can send me a message there and let me know that you heard of me through Tammy,
Hmm.
and I will commit to 25% off.
That's awesome.
I know this is going to stay up however long, but if you
Yeah.
tell me Tammy sent you, you got it.
Oh, well, that's really nice. That's very generous of you. And you might not even be living in Ogden, Utah, at the time that they end up, because you could be moving to the East Coast. Like, who knows? You might
Right.
be somewhere else. Or maybe somebody who's watching this lives in a different part of the world. They don't even live in Ogden, Utah, but your sessions can be done remotely. Is that right? Tell us a little
Correct.
about that.
Correct. Yes. Well, I mean, online really has connected everyone together. I know there are opinions on every side about that, but the speed of which we can reach each other is now less limited, is the best
Yeah,
way to say that.
I
But
absolutely
yeah,
love
just message me and we can arrange that very easily.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And do you ever go to like retreats or other events and speak? Like if somebody's watching right now and they're like, dang, I want her to be a part of my next event. Do you ever do things like that? Tell us a little bit about that.
I do. So working with people on the transformation box,
Hmm.
I love presenting that in front of crowds. It is my favorite because we take one willing volunteer, and I say that deliberately, one willing volunteer to show everyone what it is, because some people just need a little more information. And within 30 minutes, we get one demonstration in, and I lead the entire group through for a second round. And the
Powerful.
responses from people, the surprise that something, oh, that actually worked. And the stories they have, like it's just it's very motivational if you're an organization, and showing people, oh, look at how fast that was, and it just the ideas explode in their mind on the applications of that for their own life. So yes, contact me if you would like me to speak, because
Beautiful.
people just need to know that we're less limited than we thought.
I love that. That's what a beautiful note to end on. Well, actually, let me go ahead and just ask you, is there anything else that you would like to go ahead and add before we go? I mean, that was just beautiful.
It, I would like to add that if you have not been to Tammy's events, that you need to go.
Thanks.
I have had one-on-one conversations with her at her events, and off and on in preparation for this. If you have ever found benefit from learning something energetic, it is so much better when you can do it in community. And she has provided multiple ways, whether online or in person, for people to meet more of your energetic family. And I can't, I formally identified as Christian. I came by way of energy work just by happenstance, and through those people found the energy healing conference. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So all the things you have done, thank you so much.
That's awesome. Thank you. My thoughts go to this moment in time when I was walking the halls at my very first energy healing conference. It was 2014, and I was pregnant with my eighth baby. And I was homeschooling my other seven children actually at the time. And I had never done a huge conference with this many people. I'd done one homeschool conference with maybe 500, 600 people. But this was the first energy healing conference, and we had 1,400 people show up to this very first one. And I'm walking around like, what in the world? Where did all these people come from, right? And I heard one thing repeatedly over and over and over, and it was the same thing. People kept coming up to me saying, I thought I was all alone. I thought I was the only person who thought like this. You mean there's more people who think like this? And the thing is, it's not like a place where people go and everybody thinks exactly the same. It is very much a place where ideas are supported. And it's very much a place where, you can count on meeting people who are different than you. They're not all alike. But yet there's this one thing that's very similar, and it's that we are energetically learning. We're learning, we're learning, we're learning, and our intentions are to help the world. And I am just so grateful. As you just shared those lovely words, that was what I was reminded of. Was I was taken back to this one moment in time, and we've done over 100 conferences since then in the last decade. And I have been absolutely so, 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 so blessed. That used to be a trigger word for me. But I feel very blessed to know people like you who genuinely care about people. And, some people have said, if you go to a conference like that, you see so much ego. Well, if you go anywhere, you see ego. I mean, I had a guy who came to my house, he was giving me a bid on some work for my house, and he had so much ego. Oh, it was like, ugh, you know what I mean? There's going to be ego everywhere, but just because you meet one person who has ego doesn't mean that everybody else does. Like there are so many people who
Right.
are they're like very, very much there to serve. They're very, very much there to love, and they're very, very much there to be a part of a community. They're not there for anything else. They're not there for ego. So I just wanted to add that as well. So I appreciate you so much for your time today and allowing us to get to know you better, to share your who you are, to learn about more about where you came from and your evolution of you as you've come about. Um, it's really beautiful to know you. It's really beautiful to know you, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, you guys, go check her out on her website and all her channels, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.